Awesome. Hello, everyone. I am Kat Carbonaro with Astro Loyalty, and thank you so much for attending today. So we're really excited to continue this series. So today we have one of the co-founders of PIN, so the Pet Industry Network. This is Jolanta Smolsky, and she is also the founder of Pet Pro Media. So she has an awesome topic to share with you today. So she's going to present. Feel free to add any comments and musings to the chat itself. But if you want a question to be answered during this presentation, pop it in the question tab. You'll see it at the bottom of your screen to the left of chat, and we'll answer it live at the end. All right, so take it away, Jolanta.
Awesome. Can everybody hear me loud and clear? All right. So just want to kick things off today with really high energy. You guys, my name is Jolanta Smolsky. I'm the founder of Pet Pro Media and co-founder of Pet Industry Network. Thank you so much, Kat, for bringing me on, because it's my privilege to be able to connect with pet retailers like yourselves who are committed to driving growth in your pet business. And today's topic is really near and dear to my heart because right now, we are facing a critical time in the pet industry, and I'm going to address that a little bit later on. But the fact that you are here, invested in your growth, in your marketing efforts, and looking at how you can maximize your impact in 2025 tells me that you are serious and ready to get down to business. So let's learn how we can leverage marketing at the speed of AI to unlock your pet business's potential. Okay, so just quick intro, as I mentioned, my name is Jolanta, and I actually specialize in helping pet businesses like yours, transform their marketing effectiveness. And the whole point of that is really to help drive that profit and sustainability as a business owner. And also, at the end of the day, it all trickles down to the pet parent that you all serve and help. So I really like to be able to present, different marketing strategies that are working right now, the information and key data that you need in order to not only survive in 2025, but I really want to see you, this is the tagline we're seeing all over online, thrive in 2025, right? So at the end of the day, I'm really passionate about helping pet businesses like yours grow, impact, and thrive. So let's get into it, because this is not your average AI marketing webinar. I'm sure that you've already seen with the rise of AI, because it's become so democratized in terms of access. It went from being an enterprise tool to a wide mass market tool, all the way from the individual to the business owner. You've seen that there is so much education out there about AI. So what makes this talk a little bit different? And I just want to emphasize here that we're not limited or constricted to looking at AI in terms of technology, whether it's in pet products or services. We're really talking about, how do we use it as a business optimization tool, right? How can we take your business into this era that we are facing right now called customer centricity? And I love partnering with Astro Loyalty, because Astro Loyalty is all about, how do you foster that loyalty and return business into your local community, into the local pet business like yours. So I think it's important that we dive into some stats just so we can paint a picture of what we're facing right now and why this rise in customer centricity is important. So a couple of stats that I want to showcase here. There has been a major shift in consumer behavior and preferences. The pet industry is undergoing significant transformation, and it's being entirely driven by those consumer behaviors and preferences, in addition to technology like AI. And that importance of having a digital presence and online research is really prevalent in purchase decisions. I can't tell you how many times I come across a pet business that doesn't have a fully functional pet retail website, or that they have ongoing social media content going out, or that they're leveraging an email list. Can't tell you how many people are still writing down customers' email addresses. And this is a time where we gotta automate. We gotta find some more efficient systems in order to not only just market our business, but run our business, okay? And just looking at these numbers, the growing influence of Gen Z and their unique expectations. They're becoming a powerful force on the market, and they have unique expectations. They value authenticity, sustainability, and digital engagement, as well as experiences, right? They're not just looking for products anymore. So we have to think about, how do we level up there? So really, in order for your business to sustain in 2025, you're going to have to adapt and innovate in order to build that customer loyalty. And this is where AI comes to play. And if you're curious about where I got these stats from, every year the American Pet Products Association releases a report. This is based on the 2024 report and the 2023 report, and the 2024 report is about to come out this year as well. So I'm excited to update you guys when those stats do come out. Okay, great. So let's go into the topic today for AI. I'm really curious if you can let me know in the chat, who is already leveraging AI for professional use? If you can just show us in the chat, if you use AI for professional use already. I just want to get a quick pulse. Let's see. We've got Megan saying yes, Tanya who uses AI for copy and images. We've got a lot of yeses in the room. We've got a little bit, some. Okay, great. All right, this is really good news. I'm very happy to see that. What about how regular? Are you using it every day or once a week or just randomly, sporadically? Like, is it part of your consistent business operational marketing strategy? So we've got Christine saying, that's fantastic. Tanya is saying, let's see, the chat's going so fast, a couple times a week. Great, randomly. Thank you for your honesty, guys, because this offers us a baseline to understand, okay, this is where we're at and this is where the bus is going. So we got to get on that bus and understand how do we use this amazing tool and also learn about how not to use it, right? I'm going to get to that at the end because there are some really hot questions and topics that I get around, the ethical practice of AI. So just, use an open mind is what I encourage everybody here in the room to have. And, we're going to talk about, what is the AI marketing advantage? Because at the end of the day, no matter how long you've been in business, in your lifetime, you've seen how business and trends shift, right? And right now, we're undergoing a huge transformation where AI use is becoming a critical skill in the modern workforce, right? It's being integrated across all industries, including pet. And that means you really need to understand how to leverage its capabilities in order to be able to integrate it into your business growth in the future. And I'm going to share a couple of statistics with you guys. According to the World Economic Forum 2025 Future of Jobs report, if the global workforce were represented by a group of just 100 people, 59 would be projected to be required to reskill or upskill by 2030, which means that they would have to either learn new skills or increase their skill in tech, for example, or using software or using AI. And out of that 100, 11 or 59, 11 of whom would be unlikely to actually get that reskilling or upskilling, which means around the world, 120 million people are at risk of job redundancy, and business owners are not immune to this. All right. I'm talking about, your employers, all the people that you employ, all right, that you represent. And then on top of that, already today, according to Salesforce's Small Business Trends report, 9 in 10 small and medium-sized businesses are already using some form of AI. Are you one of them? Are you one of the 9 in 10? Small businesses that choose not to utilize AI, they really risk falling behind competitors in terms of efficiency, customer experience, innovation, and that leads to things like loss of market share or reduced productivity, and in general, just difficulty adapting to evolving customer needs. And I'm not saying this to all of you to scare you. Please hear me there. I really just want to motivate you to master this skill because anyone can do it, trust me. And I just don't want you to get left behind. There are so many amazing applications for AI in your business. And that spans anywhere from writing product descriptions or providing customer service through a chat support or personalizing product and service offerings. And finally, our topic for today, creating marketing and sales content faster than ever before that speaks to your target audience. As you can see, the span of how much you can integrate AI just from a customer loyalty perspective or customer experience perspective is limitless. And today we have such a brief session together, so we're just going to hone in on one. And before we do that, I just want to note that AI is not your replacement. In fact, it's your partner. And I want to also commend you all for being here again, because you are already off to a great start. You know why? Because you have access to a variety of amazing marketing tools thanks to Astro Loyalty. And everything that I'm going to teach you will streamline your marketing process and just amplify your reach alongside Astro's marketing resources. All right. It's important to take what you already have around you and integrate it. Integration is key. So, first thing, we're going to walk through some core AI strategies so that you can create, measure, and maximize your marketing impact using generative AI prompt engineering. Now, what is generative AI prompt engineering? A lot of people have heard of ChatGPT. I'm curious if you can let me know in the chat, who has been using other forms of AI, generative AI, that's not just ChatGPT, right? Maybe it's Claude AI, maybe it's Gemini, maybe it's Copilot, maybe it's Dolly, Canva even. I'm very curious to see in the chat. Yeah. Awesome. We've got one Claude AI user. We've got a Canva user. Sora. Oh, Sora is amazing. Thank you. Absolutely. Meta and Adobe Express. Fantastic. As you can see, the reach of AI into all of these softwares that we've been using for a very long time is just expanding. So really getting with that technology as it becomes even easier to utilize and integrate is really, really important. So the first strategy that I want to talk about is customer intelligence. And what that means specifically in the context for today's talk is understanding your customer and leveraging that to create customer personas. And really today, gone are the days of guessing what your customers want. When you probably read the description for this talk, you saw that I promised you we would talk about how do we speak to your customers' wallets, right? And the brilliant thing about generative AI, like the ones we just listed in the chat, it can help you go beyond the basic demographics like age and location so that you can understand things like behavioral patterns. And those behavioral patterns can span across, when they shop, what triggers them to make a purchase, what are their browsing habits, things that previously you would need to, either spend a tremendous amount on these data reports by these big data agencies in order to access to, or have memberships to associations that provide those to you. But these days, generative AI is able to actually leverage data across multiple sources to provide you with that information. Also, purchase cycles, predicting when they're likely to need specific products again. And a huge shift that I'm anticipating to see hopefully this year is, those outdated subscription models where for product orders where, you had those very regimented timelines. And if you didn't cancel within a certain time or adjust your subscription, it was very inflexible. You would be essentially punished for it because you would have to pay and then cancel. So, removing those barriers and obstacles from, for customer retention and loyalty by making those purchase cycles much easier and seamless. Also, things like communication preferences, not just when to reach them, but understanding how your customer wants to be reached. And finally, real-time adaptation. Information is constantly changing. A tool like ChatGPT by OpenAI is actually connected to the internet, so it can pull real-time information. So that's really awesome. And then talking about creating those customer personas that I mentioned earlier. This is where, in my opinion, generative AI can really shine because it can turn data into actionable customer profiles. And I always say this to people, when you actually know who your customer profile is, it is so much easier to market to them, especially knowing who isn't your customer profile, right? So really being able to hone in on those patterns to reveal those hidden pain points that you might otherwise miss, or identifying those shopping behaviors that I mentioned earlier, and understanding those decision factors that will turn those browsers into buyers. So that's another core strategy to leverage under customer intelligence. The second one that you see here on the screen is content creation. And this is the most popular one that everybody and anybody is talking about because simply of the speed, the lightning speed at which you can create content. And at the end of this, I'm going to share some warnings about creating content, okay? So stick around for that because there are some best practices that you should follow there. But when talking about AI-powered content, it can really help you go from that blank page, right? That struggle of, what do I write in an email to my customers in my email newsletter, to understanding, okay, here's a starting point. Also, another really cool tip is if you have resources like Astro Marketing Tools, where they can provide you some of the content that is working for retailers and to promote those brand offers and whatnot, you can actually throw them into AI and say, hey, based on this offer, write me an email announcing that I'm going to be carrying this or that I'm going to be giving them this discount. So that is a huge, huge, huge game changer, in my opinion, in generative AI, where you're actually able to attach different resources today to help you create that content. So it's just getting more and more advanced by the day. And then the third strategy here is for campaign optimization, specifically measuring success, right? And you have to really just understand what works, but also why it works, because then you can replicate that success. And AI can really help you track those key metrics. So for example, if you have an Excel spreadsheet or a Google spreadsheet, and if you were to ask a generative AI model to analyze it, it can summarize that information for you. I do want to warn you that sometimes those generative AI models can be inaccurate, so double check those numbers just in case. Do your own analysis, but it can help basically cut that time and process that it takes to do that, so that you can then, based on those real-time results, make adjustments to your marketing strategy. Now, because today's session is super brief, I'm going to share at the end of this a link to a guide where you can download prompts that you can leverage inside any generative AI model language, specifically like ChatGPT or Claude AI, that you're going to be able to throw those prompts directly in there for each of these strategies, okay? Because this, honestly, this kind of session takes me usually 90 minutes to teach how to do that in a workshop. So make sure at the end, stick around to the end to download that guide. All right, so briefly, I want to touch on those best practices that I mentioned a little bit earlier. First of all, you may or may not have heard how generative AI works is it actually pulls all that information and data, including images or videos, visuals, from other sources. So it's not just about copy, but it's also when you use image generation or video generation, you have to be careful of intellectual property there. Don't necessarily claim something as your own or try to create a trademark logo, for example, based on generative AI. I also want to mention, this is another big question that comes up, is security risks. If I were you, I would not enter personal, sensitive business secrets or customer information that is, that should be protected into these databases, essentially, right? That could in the future potentially be, even though they affirm that it's secure, but how many leaks on the internet do we hear about every single day? So just protect your information and your customer information. Third, about maintaining customer trust. Your customer is going to see right through if you just copy and paste AI generated content onto your website or your email or your social channels. You have to put a human eye on it. You have to edit it. You have to make sure it's in your voice. It's not to replace you. Remember, it is simply just to augment your expertise and your knowledge and your ability to serve more pet parents to basically scale your business. And finally here, about ethics, be transparent, ethical in your AI use. This is another question I get a lot, is you'll see on platforms like Instagram, they require you to disclose if you're using AI on your images or on your copy. So transparency at the end of the day is just going to build trust, and trust is what it takes to build those lasting relationships. So remember, AI is a tool to enhance your expertise, not replace it. Just use it to amplify that authentic voice you have, and instead of creating an artificial one. So to wrap up, your AI journey starts now. First, I recommend choosing your AI tool, whether it's, for example, ChatGPT or Claude AI or any of the other image or video generation ones that people kindly dropped in the chat. Check out all of them. There's thousands of platforms that you can try out, but those two are the most common ones today for language models for AI generation. And then choosing one strategy to focus on first, right? So maybe, you want to work with some content creation, or maybe you want to hone in on your marketing messaging and understanding who your ideal customer is. But if you already are far along and you have your marketing strategy in place, perhaps then you can just take a test of measuring your results and seeing, where your business is at. So just choose on one area to focus first. And then I always encourage pet business owners to iterate all the time. Iteration means to refine those prompts that you put into generative AI. Test what kind of outcomes or results that you're going to get from them until you're pleased with them. Because I guarantee you, it's usually not the first one, not the first output that you get. And then finally, when you use this code, and I'm going to also drop it inside the chat if to make it easier, you can now download this. Let's see, promote now. All right, it should be working, right, Kat? Okay, awesome. So when you download you're going to get, like I said, to review all those 3 core strategies, how to actually execute prompt engineering, whether you use any generative AI model that is going to help you generate that copy and content and marketing messaging. So I'm going to leave you with: the journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step, and you took that single step today. And I commend you on that, because I can't tell you how many times I've encountered resistance to technology adoption in the pet industry. The fact that you're here today speaks volumes. And I really, really encourage you to connect with me after today's talk. I'm going to be speaking at a couple of events coming up. One is going to be the Pet Industry Network Growth Summit happening on February 24th. You can also see me live in person in Orlando at the Pet Summit, as well as at the Global Learning Series at Global Pet Expo, and finally at Super Zoo in Las Vegas. So I really hope to get to meet you again, and I'd love to take any questions.
Okay, so we do have a question in our question tab. So I'm going to hit start live answer. So there's the question there. So yeah, so I'll take this one. So how is Astro going to be integrating AI into the marketing suite? So we are currently working on several updates to our suite as we speak. So AI being one of them. So the main thought right now is to use AI to help you with things like subject lines, which can be very tricky. That's the first thing that your customer sees when you're sending out a campaign. You want them to click on that email and open it. So that's going to be a big part of it. We're also talking about helping you with internal copy within that campaign.
Awesome. And I see actually a couple of other questions in the chat.
Let's see. Yeah, here we go, Yolanta.
Okay. So Sally asks, besides using it for posts and blogs, how else do I use AI? So when you actually download that guide, you're going to see the very first part where it dives into your marketing messaging, understanding your competitive analysis, your SWOT analysis, like different. I know this sounds maybe foreign to some of you, this marketing terminology, but basically it simplifies it. So that way you can understand, what are your strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats in the pet industry based on where you're located, what your team sizes, what kind of products and services you use. So basically, I love leveraging AI for things like that, where I can feed information and then basically get it to spit back output that I can then understand, okay, based on what is the current state of the pet industry, or based on, my area where this pet business is building, we can understand better how do we need to leverage different marketing channels besides just writing the copy. And when I say marketing channels, I also talk a lot in my other talks about customer loyalty and customer journey, and understanding like what are all those different touch points. So you can literally build out your entire marketing plan. And there's endless other ways, but I'm just using one specific example. You can build out your entire marketing plan, and that guide actually will show you how to do that. So that's another way to level up besides just writing blog and social posts, Sally. Thank you so much for that question. Okay. So Matt McCord asks, for generating different promo ideas on events, what is my favorite AI tool? So I honestly use ChatGPT and Claude AI together for a couple of reasons. First of all, ChatGPT is connected to the internet, so it's able to pull that, those most recent results based on current information available, versus Claude AI has a lot of advantages, but it doesn't have that same access. Now, Claude AI does have larger capacity and bandwidth for processing information and creating output. And then it also uses way better language, in my opinion, that you're able to spend less time refining, in my opinion. So I oftentimes will start in Claude AI and then jump into ChatGPT if I run out of capacity and bandwidth, or vice versa, if I need to start doing some research and compiling some information, which again, you have to check your sources. Whatever AI generates, make sure to back up. That's why I shared those specific statistics, those sources where I got them from, because it's really important in the age of AI that you be transparent about where you're getting your information. Let's see if there are any other questions.
I do have one here. Which AI would you suggest a total newbie should start with?
A total newbie. I mean, honestly, it depends on what your intended purpose is, because there's obviously copy generation, there's visual generation, image generation, there's video generation, there's even audio generation. So it really depends. But the one company that has been the most comprehensive is OpenAI, which is they created ChatGPT because they are creating so many different models for this variety of generation, right? So it's more versatile. Otherwise, there's a lot of other great software out there that will give you the bits and pieces. Personally, I like working with the bits and pieces because they have different bases for their basically for generating where they get their copy or their visual inspiration from. So if you want something a little bit more specific, for example, for marketing, I would say Canva AI is doing better than when it first started. All these tools are getting better and better as we go. So another common thing I hear is like people get frustrated when they first try AI. They're like, I don't like the results that I got. Can't tell you how much time I spent in the tool Dolly because I was trying to basically see like or Midjourney. Those are one of those two early on image generators that people hopped onto. And, getting all those funky images that sometimes you'll see today, it can be hard to know like what on social media is real and what isn't because it's AI generated. So what I'm trying to communicate to you guys is be careful of, be patient with it, but also be careful in terms of how you use that content to make sure that you're transparent about it or that you're using it ethically, right? Those things are, I think the best practices are more important than necessarily even the tool. There's no wrong tool to try. It just depends on your needs in your business.
Awesome. All righty. Yeah, and then we have a question. So what does Pet Pro Media do? Is that a AI marketing company? Is it a managing social media or running marketing campaigns?
Absolutely. So I've been running Pet Pro Media since 2020, and I basically started out by doing digital marketing for pet companies like yours. And ever since then, my business has evolved largely into education and training, which is a huge focus for 2025, which is why I mentioned, I'd love to see you at one of my upcoming talks because training and education, I think, is going to be very critical for what I mentioned earlier about upskilling and reskilling. So being able to teach entrepreneurs like yourselves, the tools and the skills that you need in order to sustain your business is what my focus is in Pet Pro Media. Obviously, I've pivoted, but still at the heart of digital marketing as a service through education. Thank you so much for that question.
Yes, thank you. All right, did we get everybody? Oh, did we get what AI tools can I use to forecast sales? Did we get that one?
Oh, that's a really good question. When you're talking about forecasting sales, you're going to have to feed information. And again, I gave you that warning a little bit earlier about feeding sensitive information that may be then accessible through the larger database that manages that generative AI. So yes, you can use it for forecasting sales. You would have to feed it, though, for example, existing spreadsheets and then basically prompt it in order to generate the sales forecast for you. And what I love to do in very specific use cases like that is actually take an example of one, and before asking it to fill out the same exact one, asking it to build a better tool, refine it. So you may have one of your own that you've used in the past, or you may be able to find something online that fits your business model appropriately for that sales forecasting process, and then basically have it get refined and tailored to your business before you start having AI use it. Now, something really cool that's also more recent in the last months is with ChatGPT and Claude AI, you can actually upload a knowledge base. So you can have like an ongoing project. So you don't have to have threads and conversations anymore. You can have basically a project live inside for every single aspect imaginable, whether it's in your business or in your personal life or any interest that you have, and have those different spreadsheets or documents or assets, marketing assets live in that project knowledge base. So that way, anytime you start a thread within that knowledge base, it's going to reference, for example, those numbers that you shared in order to generate those new forecasts. And you can update it. You can prompt the AI to say, hey, we've actually uploaded just a new one. Can you redo the analysis based on the most recent report? So it's amazing. There's endless ways that you can use it, actually. And I'm telling you, it's getting better and better every day. So don't get frustrated with it. Be patient with it. It's amazing. We have another question. Yes, about sharing data with AI tools. Definitely, like I mentioned earlier, if it's not your business secrets or if it's not sensitive customer information, it's okay. In my professional opinion, I'm not a lawyer, so don't, I'm not giving you legal advice, but I've personally used, entered different data while making sure to follow those parameters of protecting customer information and making sure I don't necessarily share any innovative idea that somebody might be working on, one of my clients might be working on in there, because we don't want that to become in general part of the database that gets drawn back out of. So if you're designing some amazing, crazy, innovative product, be careful about how much you tell ChatGPT about it.
Awesome. There's a couple questions in the question tab, so I'll turn this one on. When is your next talk or presentation?
Yes, absolutely. So actually, I'm super excited because for the Pet Industry Network, I'm actually putting on, alongside my co-founder and the whole entire network, the Pin Growth Summit 2025. So that is actually going to be bringing together a lot of B2B providers like myself. And it's happening on February 24th. And I can take a second to add a link to the chat for that one. And you can throw the next question to me.
Yeah, here, 1 second. Alrighty, so how do I learn how to make my own GPT model, like what you were talking about?
Yeah, so that's a little bit different, actually. It's not the same what I was talking about. And guys, I could do another separate whole 90-minute talk about how to build your own GPT. So with that, honestly, there's a lot of instructions in YouTube tutorials. I wouldn't be able to give you a very, summarized version of it. But what I always say, whenever you're creating your own custom tailored tool, don't reinvent you don't have to basically start from a blank page. Even in those cases, you have examples of other GPTs that you can follow in the creation. Just make sure when you're actually going through all of the prompts and the fields, that you are as specific and descriptive as possible. And I can't tell you how much specificity and being descriptive in ChatGPT when creating a GPT is going to help you go a much longer way, because at the end of the day, it's just going to cut down on how much time it takes to get the output that you're going to find valuable, and also save you time on not having to basically, reconfigure or redo the process. It's going to become more sustainable in your business. So yeah, I just dropped that link for the Pin Growth Summit for you guys.
Okay. Oops. Alrighty. Oh, there we go. Perfect. Yay. Awesome. All right. So let's see. Did we get everybody? There was mention of Claude AI versus ChatGPT for forecasting. Would you say that would be, is there one better than the other?
Not at this time. They used to actually be at a very different pace in terms of release of updates and feature availability. And now they're almost neck to neck. So that's why I use, honestly, both platforms. The question that has not come up in the chat, which I'm actually really surprised, is which one would you pay for, right? Because both of them have also a paid version. So with that one, personally, In all transparency, I pay for both because of those reasons that I shared earlier in terms of bandwidth, in terms of capacity, and different purposes that I use it for, right? Claude AI gives me much better language output versus ChatGPT is connected to more recent internet results. So, in that situation, I use both. But if you had to choose one over the other, it really depends. If you need it to be connected to the internet, ChatGPT is the way to go. If you need it to just, basically cut down on your output time in terms of the language model, Claude AI is the way to go. The paid versions, and I am not affiliated with either one, guys, but the paid versions will just exponentially increase the kind of capabilities that you have because they have different versions of depending on what kind of output you need to get. So for example, within Claude, you can go between asking it to provide lists for you or asking for it to provide whole explanatory paragraphs for you, which is very different because if you don't change those settings, first of all, if you are on the free version, there's only so much output that you can create, especially if you create more long form content that eventually is going to tell you, hey, you need to take a pause for a few hours. Can't use this anymore because of the number of tokens you've used up, basically. Versus when you pay for it, you can still run into that problem like me because I use it a lot. However, you're going to be able to make it stretch much further. So yeah, it really depends on your use case. Which one you want to use. If you want to pay for it, honestly, you can get away with the free plan, guys. But a lot of people always ask me about the paid version. I use both, but depending on whether you need one for this purpose or for another, one could be very much sufficient. And we've got Christine even saying like she pays for ChatGPT. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So yeah, reasonable cost, Sally. They're on average $20 a month. Don't get super expensive ones. There are much more expensive plans. Those are for like those really more complex businesses. You don't need, I promise you. The $20 subscription is good enough. You can test it out. I love testing, guys. Just test it out. Subscribe for 1 month. You don't like it, unsubscribe. Easy peasy, lemon squeezy.
Yeah. I mean, like you said, it's a partner, and I love being able to work with a partner that isn't going to get upset if I ask for something to be tweaked on it. So it's great. I mean, you can literally tell it whatever you want it to do and just be like, well, that's not exactly quite. Let's put this tone to it and that tone to it. And it's happy every time.
Exactly. The joke is, though, that I see a lot of people make is they make sure that they're very nice when talking to AI, just in case AI takes over the world.
I always thank it.
Yeah. Say thank you, please. Then it talks back very nicely to you. You know what's a really great trend that I've seen also people do is they ask AI to roast them or their company or their location where they live or etc. You can use AI very creatively, yeah, and you can have it talk in different ways to you too. You can have that voice tailored to whatever you need. For me personally, I'm constantly doing a lot of professional work, so it's very much professional voiced, but depending on your type of business, if you are a fun brand or retailer, where, for example, I'm sure you remember on social, the trend has completely changed, but there used to be a time when a lot of people, pet influencers, talked as if they were their dog, right? You can, you're not seeing that anymore. But the point is, whatever trends will come up in the future, you can ask it to adapt to those trends in your copy, in your language. So yeah, there's the top trend I would say that you guys should really be paying attention to is personalization, and finding ways to streamline, like, how can I personalize this communication based on my target audience, so that way they understand that you hear them and you speak to them. And they're going to want to do business with you because you're not just the generic business, in terms of your communication. You're a little bit more specific, and it's okay if it turns some people away. Some people realize in your marketing that, I'm not as into, for example, wellness or raw as, I thought I was. This company seems to be really into that. That's okay. They're not your ideal customer. Why do you want to spend marketing dollars on those people? Okay. Yeah. You just want to attract the right people. So AI is going to really help you do that. I love what Christine says. Sometimes I have to be a little firm when I don't get the output. And be constructively critical. Same. I love it.
Yeah. And there was a question, let's see. How can we use AI for advertising other than creating images or description with AI?
Yeah. Well, now you can do video generation, audio generation. So also, what you call it, for chat bots, usually, these days we talk a lot about customer service, but in terms of getting, when people first, for example, land on your page, what are the different touch points that you can integrate so that way they get engaged right away, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because, once they discover you, I know you said advertising. I think you mean also maybe other forms of marketing. That's why I'm expanding a little bit there. But you can also, specific to advertising, leverage it for ad creation, right? And what I really love to do, which I mentioned earlier, is throwing in some ads that you like and asking AI to help you create content that follows somewhat that example. Don't ask it to replicate it exactly because it has to be in your brand voice. Mm-hmm. And ideally, you would have fed that information to the language model beforehand. But essentially, you can, leverage other forms of content to also repurpose maybe something that you have created. So if you have a video that you want to break down, or for example, a script for a video that you want to break down into smaller social ads, it can actually tell you, okay, here's how I would do my social ad strategy based on the product or offer that you're trying to promote. So I'm telling you, the more information you give it, the more interesting output you're going to be able to get based on your needs. You just have to tell ChatGPT, sometimes you got to be firm, like Christine said, about what you want to get out of it. And it takes time to master it. But when I say it takes time, like a few goes, all right? I'm not talking about days and weeks. It just takes a few goes for you to start seeing what works. So I highly encourage you. I dropped that guide for you guys to download. And I can go back just in case anybody joined late because I saw that comment happen. You can actually take this guide and apply it across your marketing strategy as well as your content creation. It's to give you a baseline, a starting point, essentially. Go from that blank page so that you can, because the one thing that I find happens a lot in the pet industry is like we are so pet passionate that we end up spending so much time on trying to work in the business rather than work on the business. And really, AI can help you hone in on that and get you consistent with your marketing and your social media, as an example, as well as optimizing other parts of your business. But that's, again, that can be a whole other subject.
And we'll do a couple more. So I have one in the questions tab from Edward. And he says, if I create a blog post, should I say created by Ed with help from ChatGPT or something like that?
That's a really great question. And I let you use your own discretion for that. I can't tell you how many times I see people are using, for example, ChatGPT and not disclosing it in their content marketing. Unfortunately, it's still happening a lot. And it really, I would say, it depends on how much of it is taken from the tool. If it's word for word, definitely, but it's not ideal. You know what I mean? I don't advise you to take anything word for word at all, Ed, because you really need to put a human eye and tailor that content a little bit before you release it to the world. Otherwise, people are gonna, I'm telling you, they can see right through it. They're gonna know that it was written by ChatGPT. So I would suggest tailoring, editing, putting that human eye on your content and publishing it as yours, as long as, I would say, more than 50% is your own content, right? Because, for example, if you fed the tool all this information and the content did come from you, it's not that you're copying somebody else's intellectual property, right? It's a blog that's talking about your own expertise. For example, I'm not sure what kind of business that you have, but let's say you have a pet, brick and mortar retail plus grooming, right? And you want to attract more business into the grooming side of your location, whether it's through the grooming products that you sell or the services. ChatGPT wouldn't know anything about that unless you tell it, right? So yeah, as long as you're giving your own intellectual information in there to be repurposed into this blog post, I wouldn't go around, saying like, yeah, I wrote all my content with AI. Just make sure it's actually your content. That's all.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
perfectly answered. Love that.
Yes. Thanks.
Yeah. I use it a lot as like an editor. Like I will brain dump into it and then have it kind of clean it up, and then I'll edit it further. It's awesome.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, we have a question. Does PIN give services on branding?
That's a fantastic question. So we actually have in the Pet Industry Network experts for so many areas of marketing and operations. When it comes to branding, there are a few experts who actually offer it as one of their services. Maybe not as their primary core service, but I definitely recommend going to the site, petindustrynetwork.com, and you can see all the experts and their services there. But if you do know somebody who does brand design that you recommend, we're always on the lookout to see, because we have a very extensive vetting process that we run before bringing in an expert, because we want to make sure that when somebody like myself is coming into these rooms, partnering with other members, sharing this kind of expertise, that it's actually helpful. That we actually have a track record of working with businesses like yours, and that we're able to help drive those results, right, through this education or through services. So definitely, thank you so much for dropping the link, Kat.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's why we love being a part of PIN. So it's, we like to be able to help our retailers when they have questions about, other services, like things that we cannot provide for them. And we know that every single member of PIN has been extensively vetted. I mean, we've been extensively vetted, and I love that, how thorough you all are. So
yeah,
I have no qualms about recommending any member of PIN to anybody. So
yeah, thank you so much for that endorsement.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Awesome. Well, this has been so much fun, Kat.
Yeah, absolutely. I didn't want to cut anybody off because I got time. So, yay. Christine. So yeah, awesome. Well, if there's no more questions, I think we'll wrap it up for the day. So as soon as we end this live, it'll start the replay again. So if you join late, just kind of hang out and it'll start to go. And then you will get an email that will include the replay link. So if you, again, want to watch it later, you can access that replay at any time. And I will also be posting it to our YouTube channel. I have a playlist started that are going to have the full series of our POP webinars with our PIN members. So yeah, and thank you, Sally. Love you.
Yeah.
Awesome. Okay, so thank you so much and enjoy the rest of your Tuesday.
Awesome. Thank you so much, everybody, for joining us. And I'm so excited to see the next episode of The Power of PIN with Astro Loyalty.
Thanks, guys.
All right. Take care, all.
Take care. Bye, all.